Let me begin by telling you that the Polish National Foundation, tasked with the responsibility to promote the Polish brand, the brand of Poland abroad, using millions of zlotys paid in by taxpayers, is not focusing on that. Rather, it has initiated a hate speech campaign, a hate campaign against the judiciary, using billboards and other media.
Interesuje się sądownictwem, wymiarem sprawiedliwości w Europie i na świecie i dotąd nie zetknąłem się z taką sytuacją, żeby rząd za publiczne pieniądze tworzył oficjalną kampanię nienawiści, pokazując fałszywe przykłady bardzo często sędziów, chcąc oczernić nas w oczach opinii publicznej i spowodować ogromny spadek zaufania społecznego do sędziów.
I am interested in the judiciary, be it European or worldwide, and never before have I encountered a government who would be using public money to design a hate campaign specifically targeting the judiciary to make them look bad, to black smear them in the eyes of the public, often as not using false examples.
Jednocześnie z tą kampanią prowadzi się aktywne działania organów państwa przeciwko sędziowskim liderom, którzy stanęli w obronie konstytucji.
At the same time, the government has launched a campaign targeting the organizations of judiciary leaders who have decided to oppose the developments in Poland.
Ja mam bardzo wiele postępowań prowadzonych, część już z nich się zakończyło. Rozpoczyna się od tego, że prokuratura okręgowa w Warszawie z urzędów wszczyna postępowanie karne, które ma mnie rzekomo chronić. W rzeczywistości chodzi o to, żebym był przesłuchiwany przez prokuraturę.
At this point in time, I am a number of several proceedings, some of which we have already been closed. Among others, the District Prosecution Office in Warsaw has initiated proceedings which allegedly are meant to support or protect me. In actuality, the point is for me to be heard, to attend hearings, and for me to be forced to testify again and again.
Gdy na pierwszym przesłuchaniu przynoszę zdjęcie tego, co zostało z opony mojego samochodu, prokurator, który prowadzi śledztwo, które ma rzekomo chronić moją osobę, nawet nie odbiera ode mnie tego dowodu.
When I arrived at my first hearing with a photograph showing what had been left of one of the tires of my car, the prosecutor in charge did not even take this as evidence.
Prokuratura ustala poprzez zajęcie moich peelingów telefonicznych między innymi osobę, która wysyła do mnie kilkadziesiąt SMS-ów dziennie z różnymi tekstami, ale postępowanie zostaje ostatecznie umorzone.
While the prosecution authority had determined that the first and last names of a person who had been texting me daily, several dozen times a day, with assorted, wording based on my telephone billings, actually they have managed to find out who the person was, but the proceedings were summarily dismissed.
Mój dom rodzinny, w którym mieszkają starzy rodzice, zostaje obrzucony jajkami w tym czasie. Prokuratura po roku od informacji, jaką dostaje ode mnie, przesłuchuje moich rodziców.
My home, my family home, where my elderly parents live, had been defaced. Eggs were thrown at the house, and the prosecutor only decided to take action 1 year after having been notified.
Rozpoczyna się wielomiesięczna kontrola przez Centralne Biuro Antykorupcyjne moich oświadczeń majątkowych. Przyczyny tej kontroli są nieznane, dlatego że biuro wydaje sprzeczne komunikaty. Raz mówi, że jest to kontrola losowa, innym razem mówi, że jest zapotrzebowanie społeczne na to, żeby sprawdzić moje oświadczenia majątkowe.
Many months of proceedings have also gone by, initiated by the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau to analyze my tax returns and property statements. It turns out that the purpose of such audit is not exactly known. I had been given diverse information. Once I had been told that this is a random audit, while at other times I was told that there is a public requirement for persons such as myself to be checked.
Jestem wielokrotnie przesłuchiwany w trakcie tej kontroli, która trwa 16 miesięcy.
I testified again and again in the course of that audit, which summarily took 16 months.
Zawiadomienie o rozpoczęciu kontroli, która w rzeczywistości toczy się już od kilku miesięcy, przynosi mi do Biura Krajowej Rady Sądownictwa, bo jeszcze wtedy działa niezależna rada, 3 agentów CBA, którzy wchodzą w zamkniętą strefę w ten sposób, że sekretarka jak uchyla drzwi, tam nie wolno wchodzić osobom postronnym. Panowie wchodzą na siłę i pytają, gdzie jest sędzia Żurek, bo oni, jak nie zostanie wskazane miejsce, gdzie on przebywa, to będą sprawdzać każdy pokój.
The notification of proceedings, which at the time had already been underway for many months, was actually delivered to me through the National Council of the Judiciary, because the council had still been independent at the time, by agents of the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau, who managed to enter my office via a so-called safe zone that people do not have access to. And once the secretary had opened the door, they forced their way in and demanded to know where Judge Żurek is, where Justice Żurek is, and they also said that if she does not tell them, they are going to proceed searching all rooms one by one.
Ostatecznie ci agenci wchodzą na naradę, która jest akurat prowadzona w pokoju szefa Krajowej Rady Sądownictwa, prezesa jednej z izb Sądu Najwyższego, i zostawiają mi zawiadomienie o rozpoczęciu kontroli. Nawet nie muszę pokwitować. Zawiadomienie, które można było mi wysłać pocztą.
All in all, these agents forced their way into one of the meetings that had been held in the room occupied by the head of the National Council of the Judiciary, the chairman of one of the chambers of the Supreme Court. They served me with a notification that I didn't even sign to acknowledge the receipt of notification that I could have well been served by postal.
Taki pokaz siły jest prezentowany na co dzień w tych postępowaniach. Jednym z przypadków jest sytuacja, kiedy osoba, która nabyła ode mnie jakiś pojazd mechaniczny wiele lat temu, rocznik pojazdu 77, do niej, do domu wkraczają także agenci CBA, żeby sprawdzić, czy rzeczywiście ta transakcja miała miejsce.
This show of power goes on and on. Let me quote another example. A person who had many years ago purchased a car from me, year of make 1977. The agents of the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau had also forced their way into that person's home in order to check whether such a transaction had actually taken place.
Po wielu miesiącach kontroli okazuje się, że nie ma żadnych podstaw, żeby postawić mi jakieś zarzuty, ale mimo to jeszcze biuro wysyła informacje, żeby sprawdzono moje zagadnienia podatkowe, ale Centralne Biuro Antykorupcyjne nie kieruje wniosków bezpośrednio do Urzędu Skarbowego, tylko wysyła je poprzez prokuraturę, żeby w mediach podano informację, że w mojej sprawie coś robi jeszcze prokuratura.
Such activities took place for a long time, and despite the fact that there had been no justification to continue such proceedings, the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau took action again and again. Among others, they also decided to involve me in a tax audit, or to audit my tax-related matters, but instead of notifying the tax authority, who are responsible for such matters, the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau decided to go via the prosecution authority as a media background, in order for the newspapers, in order for the media to tell the world that I am also being examined by a prosecutor.
Na 3 postępowania, 2 już są zakończone prawomocnie z korzyścią dla mnie i trzecie, myślę, w najbliższych dniach zakończy się również pozytywnie.
Of the 3 proceedings, 2 have already been closed with an outcome favorable to myself, and this is also what I expect of the 3rd.
Oczywiście to jest niezwykle uciążliwe. Mam tyle tych postępowań, że dzisiaj wspiera mnie w tej walce 13 pełnomocników profesjonalnych.
Obviously, the entire process is very tedious and strenuous to myself. I have been so overwhelmed by these proceedings that today I am supported by no less than 13 professional legal plenipotentiaries.
Gdy postępowanie wobec mnie nie wykazuje żadnych nieprawidłowości, zaczyna biuro kontrolować moją żonę, która jest w zaawansowanej ciąży. Również nic nie wykazano.
Once proceedings turned out not to bring the so-called desired result, the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau decided to examine my wife, then in the last stages of pregnancy, and obviously proceedings with regard to her case had been to no avail either.
Uruchamia mi się szereg postępowań dyscyplinarnych. Uruchomiono 6 takich postępowań.
Disciplinary proceedings were taken against me as well, the overall number of 6.
Najczęściej są to postępowania za spotkanie z obywatelami i rozmowy o konstytucji, między innymi z sędzią Igorem Tuleją, który jest na jednym z tych zdjęć. On tutaj właśnie.
Among others, I am being persecuted for my meeting citizens and talking in public to other judiciary, or co-organizing such meetings with the judiciary, among others with Justice Igor Tuleja, who is in one of the photographs here.
Ostatnio uruchomiono mi postępowanie dyscyplinarne, bo w gazecie, w portalu internetowym dla prawników kwestionowałem legalność powołania jednego z nowych sędziów Sądu Najwyższego, bo większość prawników w Polsce uważa, że te osoby w tej nowej procedurze powołane są w sposób sprzeczny z naszą konstytucją.
Most recently, disciplinary proceedings have been taken against me because I had published on one of the online portals targeting lawyers that I am opposing, that I'm questioning the procedure leading to the election of one of the new Supreme Court judges. Most of the Polish bar believe that these new persons have been appointed unlawfully.
Co ciekawe, tak samo uważa Rzecznik Generalny Trybunału Sprawiedliwości Unii Europejskiej.
It is also interesting that the chief spokesman of the European Court of Justice is of the exact same opinion.
Ale proszę Państwa, to nie koniec. Zostaje zwolniony z funkcji rzecznika Prasowego Sądu Okręgowego w Krakowie z naruszeniem ustawy o ustroju sądów. Zostaje przeniesiony po 13 latach pracy do innego wydziału, gdzie nie zapewnia mi się sekretarza sądowego, czyli takiej podstawowej obsługi, którą ma każdy sędzia.
Those actions, those proceedings go on and on. My contract as the spokesperson for the district court in Krakow is terminated after 13 years of work. I am transferred to another post where I'm not even provided by a legal secretary, a fundamental amenity that is due to all persons representing the judiciary.
Osoby, które ujmują się za tym z Sądu Okręgowego, z Kolegium Sądu Okręgowego, zostają pozbawione stanowisk funkcyjnych. 5 osób zostaje pozbawionych stanowisk, które stanęło po mojej stronie w takim organie sądowym, jakim jest Kolegium Sądu.
5 persons who had spoken in my favor to defend my case, where actually their contracts had also been terminated at the local district court by decision of the so-called judiciary collegium or judiciary collegiate body.
Proszę sobie wyobrazić, że pracuję z jednym z adwokatów, który ma podobne poglądy jak ja. Przygotowujemy pozew o mobbing. Po miesiącu pracy adwokat mówi, że on niestety nie może się podpisać pod tym pozwem, nie będzie mnie reprezentował w sądzie, bo jego wspólnicy w kancelarii obawiają się, że kancelaria zostanie zniszczona, jeżeli będzie mnie reprezentował w sądzie.
I had hired a solicitor. We were putting together a case concerning mobbing. After 1 month of work, my lawyer, my counsellor, tells me that he cannot proceed with the case. He cannot sign all the papers we had prepared because he was told by his partners in the office at law that they fear that their office at law is going to be destroyed if we go on with the case.
Wtedy zrozumiałem, że jesteśmy już jedną nogą w państwie autorytarnym.
And it was then that I finally understood that we are actually partly in an authoritarian state.
O hejcie nie chcę mówić, dlatego że tego jest tak dużo. Jestem jedną z najbardziej hejtowanych osób w tej aferze, którą organizował prawdopodobnie wiceminister sprawiedliwości. Robiono statystyki na Twitterze. Jestem najbardziej hejtowaną osobą przez tą grupę, która miała za zadanie nas oczerniać.
I do not wish to go into details concerning hate speech. I was the main figure in the scandal, which was in all probability conjured up by the Vice Minister of Justice. Twitter statistics had shown that I was the most hated person with regards to that particular topic.
Na mój telefon było wysyłane setki SMS-ów. Miałem także rozmowę telefoniczną o każdej porze dnia i nocy, które nawet groziły mi śmiercią.
I have received hundreds of hate texts. My phone was being called day and night by assorted individuals, some of whom even issued death threats.
Na koniec Państwu powiem o jednym mailu, który najbardziej mnie chyba poruszył, chociaż nie był mailem wulgarnym, czy też grożącym mi śmiercią. Pamiętam, jak go dostałem na komputer.
Let me end my story by telling you of an email message which happened to move me deeply, although it was neither vulgar nor did it contain death threats. I still remember reading it on my computer.
Jak będziesz szedł z rodziną galerią handlową, dostaniesz 2 strzały. Ja przeczytałem to, pod spodem było napisane, że dostanę 2 strzały w twarz, ale w momencie, kiedy przeczytałem to zdanie, wyobraziłem sobie, jak idę z rodziną, mam 4 córki, przez galerię handlową i ktoś do mnie strzela. I pamiętam, że wtedy to rzeczywiście bardzo mnie poruszyło.
The email said, when you are walking with your family across the shopping mall, you shall be struck twice. And ultimately, the author of the email meant that I'm going to be slapped in the face. But my original thought was imagining myself walking across the shopping mall, and I have 4 daughters, and I imagined being shot twice.
We wiosną tego roku złożyłem doniesienie do prokuratury z podaniem nazw hejterów najbardziej agresywnych. Do dnia dzisiejszego prokuratura nie ustaliła IP tych komputerów. Natomiast na podstawie anonimu przeprowadzono kontrolę spraw, których orzekam. Czy przypadkiem nie prowadzę przewlekle, czy nie ma na mnie skarg. Wizytator z sądu wyższej instancji stwierdził, że wszystko jest w najlepszym porządku. Po 2 miesiącach przestał być wizytatorem w sądzie, czyli takim sędzią, który wizytuje sędziów.
In the spring this year, I notified the prosecution office of the most aggressive, of the nicks of my most aggressive haters. Until this day, the prosecution authority has not managed to determine the IP addresses of the computers used to dispatch hate. At the same time, proceedings were taken in order to audit the reliability of the court cases I was responsible for, in order to find whether I am not engaging in any protractive activities, for example. The auditing justice, the auditing judge, concluded that all my cases had been handled properly. Soon thereafter, he stopped being an auditor for courts.
Proszę Państwa, tego jest bardzo dużo, ale ja mam ograniczony czas, więc nie będę Państwu więcej opowiadał o szczegółach, także z agresją, którą spotykam się czasem na ulicach. Bardzo Państwu dziękuję za uwagę. I chcę tylko na koniec powiedzieć, że ja składałem przysięgę przed prezydentem Rzeczypospolitej stać na straży prawa. Dla nas najwyższym prawem jest Konstytucja Polski. I tej przysięgi dochowam, bez względu na szykany. Dziękuję bardzo.
Ladies and gentlemen, my time is limited, so I'm not going to go on with listing all the examples of hate that I encounter constantly also in the streets. I would like to thank you for me letting me bend your ear. I would only like to conclude by telling you that I have taken an oath before the President of the Republic of Poland. The oath obliges me to protect and defend the law. To us, the Constitution is the supreme law. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge Żurek. Now I'm passing the mic to Judge Dariusz Mazur.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to can talk during this interesting meeting. At the beginning, I must emphasize that I'm one of the less targeted judges from the active one in the media. I have only one pending explanatory proceedings. I've been examined twice by the Department of Internal Affairs at the very top of the Public Prosecution Office. I was deprived the position of coordinator of international cooperation and protection of human rights of Krakow Court, and I was deprived of the position of the lecturer of National School of Judiciary and Public Prosecution, but all of this is nothing comparing to my colleague on the right, Waldemar Żurek, and comparing to my colleague on the left, Prokurator Parchimowicz, who has 9 or 10 pending disciplinary proceedings. Probably he can't count it on his own. That's why I decided to tell you a few words or a kind of introduction about the systemic changes in the Polish system of law, but very shortly. But I would concentrate on the hate speech or the smear campaign against the judiciary, which is inspired, organized and financed by the executive in Poland in order to subordinate the judiciary to the executive power. So starting from the systemic changes very quickly in the chronological order, it all started from political subordination of the Public Prosecution Office, which was done in 2016 by merging the positions of the General Prosecutor Public and the Minister of Justice, and it was accompanied by significant increase of investigative power of the General Prosecutor Public and exchange of the top prosecutors, which was done under the pretext of reorganization. At the same time, there was created special internal department at the very top of the Public Prosecutor Office with the statutory aim to conduct criminal proceedings against judges and prosecutors. There are 10 prosecutors in this unit. There was published officially the statistical data concerning the conduct of this body. After 2 years of activity of this body, they examined more than 1,000 cases, claims, and this huge activity enabled them to start 7 proceedings against persons, 5 of them against prosecutors, 2 of them against judges. Taking into account that we have more than 10,000 judges in Poland and more than 6,000 prosecutors, this number is clearly insignificant, and it shows that this unit was created not because of the fact that the Judiciary and Public Prosecutor Office is corrupted, but just with the aim of persecution of people who stay independent from the executive. Afterwards, in December 2016, we have the hostile takeover of the Constitutional Court, which was subordinated to executive power after illegal and unconstitutional hostile takeover. In this way, the very small majority of law and justice in the parliament is able to adopt any law, even unconstitutional. Afterwards, in August 2017, we have the changes in the law on the organization of ordinary courts, which gave the Minister of Justice exclusive power to appoint presidents of common courts, and within 6 months from entering into force of this law, to dismiss any president or vice president of ordinary court in Poland, and it was applied in respect of about 160 persons. And these newly nominated presidents of court by the present Minister of Justice, they apply administrative ways of suppression of persecution of judges, like in respect of Judge Żurek, who was removed from one division to another one without any grounds, deprived of his clerk, deprived of assistant, so he was left alone in the new division with new great case load. Then we have the political subordination of the National Council of the Judiciary, which was accomplished in March 2018. It was achieved by switching the right of election of 15 judges members from the judges' self-government to the parliament, and this enables the ruling camp to take political control over the process of appointment and promotion of judges, which is very important in terms of taking control over judiciary. Then we have the new act on the Supreme Court, which created two entirely new chambers. Every judge of these chambers was constituted a judge of Supreme Court just in December 2018. And this disciplinary chamber, in fact, is a completely separate court, just acting under the auspices of the Supreme Court. It has its own budget, its own office, its own rules of procedure, its own remuneration, 40% higher than the remuneration of the other judges of the Supreme Court. So, to sum up, it's a new court, specialized court, which is not provided by the Constitution in the times of peace. Such courts can be created only in times of war. As far as I know, we are not in a state of war at the moment. The second special chamber, new chamber which was created, is a chamber of extraordinary complaints and public affairs, which gives the executive control over legal scrutiny of elections to the Parliament, European Parliament, presidential elections, legal scrutiny of referendums, the legal control over energetic sector, telecommunication sector, and the railway transport sector. And there was also introduced a new institution, so-called extraordinary complaint, which enables the general prosecutor public to reverse any judgment which was issued during recent 20 years, which massively undermines the certainty of the legal system. And last but not least, there was introduced the new mode of disciplinary proceedings in respect of judges. The top level of this disciplinary proceedings is this newly created disciplinary chamber in the Supreme Court, which is the second instance disciplinary court for the ordinary court judges. And in fact, it is the politicized second instance disciplinary court for judges. And the rules of the proceedings and the rules of appointment of the members, of the persons involved in this new disciplinary system are very much politicized. What do I mean? Judges of the first instance disciplinary courts are elected in arbitrary way by Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice appoints main disciplinary commissioner for judges and his two deputies. The rules of proceedings in this new mode of disciplinary proceedings permit to carry out a hearing of a judge in justified absence of the judge and his counsel. So both of them can be ill, but the proceeding can continue. And this new disciplinary law allows to apply in the proceedings evidence obtained without judicial control and in the violation of law. And that's, in general terms, the legal environment in which Polish judges exist at the moment. It is called by the ruling camp the great reform of the judiciary. The first attempt of this so-called great reform was done in July 2017. At that moment, the three draft laws were going to be passed through the Parliament, and it was the new law on Supreme Court, a new law on National Council of the Judiciary, and the new law on the system of organization of ordinary courts. This was very harsh version of the new law, especially in terms of the Supreme Court, because the idea is that the next day after the entering into force the new law on Supreme Court, the terms of office of all justices of Supreme Court will expire, and on the next day the Minister of Justice would assign all new judges of Supreme Court. That was the general idea behind this first attempt of so-called great reform of the system of justice. However, at that moment, the society noticed that it goes much too far and there was a great wave of protest in Poland. The protest took part in between 250-300 cities. In total, it's estimated that 2 million people were protesting. People were gathering around the court, creating the chains of light and so on. And quite surprisingly, in July 2017, President Duda vetoed 2 of 3 bills, which were the bill on Supreme Court and the bill on National Council of the Judiciary. Here are the pictures from this massive protest in Poland. Here the people are demanding veto from the president. And what happened next? At the end of this 2017, President Duda proposed his own bills, draft laws on the National Council of the Judiciary and on the Supreme Court, which were very much similar to those which he vetoed before. And you can ask, and this time this passed through the parliament without any serious protest of the society. That's why you can ask how it was possible that this time there was no such wave of protest. At that particular moment, in September 2017, the Black PR campaign against judges was instigated. It was so-called billboard campaign against the judiciary. It was in Poland there were thousands of great billboards. There was also TV part of this campaign, internet part of the campaign. It costed more than 2 million euros, which is comparable to the cost of presidential campaign in Poland. It was conducted by the National Foundation, which was created by Law and Justice to promote good name of Poland abroad, which is financed by 17 biggest state-owned companies controlled by managers nominated by Law and Justice. And this campaign, in theory, was designed to promote the great reform of the justice system. In fact, it was the Black PR action run by Law and Justice, which showed judiciary in distorting mirror and describing disciplinary proceedings and real or alleged court mistakes. Some of the situations described during the campaign were true, some were manipulated, and some were completely false. I will give you just one example of manipulation. The billboard said, there is a judge who stole trousers from the shop and was driving drunk. And it was correct, there was such a situation. However, the campaign didn't mention that when this situation has happened, the judge was retired for many years, and what is more, he was mentally deranged. During this campaign, the judges were described as privileged caste. In terms of colors, the campaign was black and white, and the judges were situated on the black side, and they were depicted as examples of lack of competence, corruption, and indolence. Here you have an example of one of the billboards. On the left black side, the description is, that's how it is now. The judges tell about themselves, we are the privileged caste. It is time to change it. On the right white side, it is written, that is how it is going to be in the future. The judges, like every citizen, when they break the law, they should be taken under the responsibility. Check it on the website, and here is the picture from the internet part of the campaign. On the right side, we have this situation described when the judge has stolen trousers. On the left side, we have described on the black background the situation in which the court was supposed to release before ending the term of the custodial sentence the pedophile who, when released, committed another pedophile act. The problem is that such situation just has never happened. It was just false. Okay. One of Krakow court judges very accurately commented this billboard campaign. he said, the situation in which one of the branches of state authority pays to organize a negative campaign against another branch of state authority of the same country is so peculiar that even George Orwell or Monty Python couldn't have come up with that. And it is a very accurate comment. After this billboard campaign, it was our Prime Minister, Mr. Morawiecki, who took the initiative in the smear campaign in respect of judges. In December 2017, at the meeting with President of the Republic of France, Mr. Macron, he compared Polish judges and Polish courts to the courts of Vichy, France, collaborating with the Nazis. Very diplomatic way, very diplomatic statement of Polish Prime Minister in respect of judiciary, and completely ungrounded. Afterwards, Minister Morawiecki gave numerous speeches, mainly abroad. It was the interview for Washington Examiner, interview for European Journalist, statement for Le Figaro, interview at the New York University, in which he included two main theses. First, that Polish judiciary is a part of post-communist pact. The second, that Polish judges are corrupted. Very short comment. This post-communist pact, after 30 years from the changing of the system in Poland, average age of Polish judge is 42 or 43. So at the change of the system, average Polish judge was 12. How can he be the part of post-communist fact? Second thesis of Prime Minister, Polish judiciary is corrupted, Polish judges are corrupted. Association of Judges asked the Supreme Court how many Polish judges were sentenced in disciplinary proceedings for taking a bribe in the period between 2007 and 2017. We have about 10,000 judges. How do you think, how many cases of taking a bribe by a Polish judge occurred in this period? Can you give me any number? Sir? There was one such situation for 10,000 judges. So there is no systemic problem of bribery, taking a bribe in Polish judiciary, which was fully confirmed by the RICO report. Of course, many other politicians make a kind of smear campaign against judges in the public media. One of them was our Minister of Justice, Mr. Ziobro, who said in one of public statements that judges who would directly apply the Constitution or international treaties can face disciplinary proceedings. Another interesting statement derives from our main leader, Mr. Kaczyński. I don't know if you know the word oikophobia. I didn't know it before, but this means hate to the homeland, to the threshold of illness. And he, in his speech of September 2018, revealed that one of the reasons of great reform of the judiciary is the oikophobia among judges, and he was thinking about judges who decided in favor of German citizens in real estate cases concerning grounds in former Russia. And another politician, formally he is a judge, but he is the Vice Minister of Justice. His name is Łukasz Piebiak. He is now very popular in very bad sense of this word because he was the head of this smear internet campaign in the media. In one of the interviews he said, probably referring to this statement about oikophobia of Mr. Kaczyński, that the judges who are not standing on the side of the state in the proceedings are the black sheep which should be removed from judicial profession. How does it correspond with impartiality of judge? I have no idea, and it is a very, very interesting statement from the man who is formally still a judge. And so when I talk about Mr. Piebiak, it is time to start about the new invention or the newly revealed invention of our executive, which is the troll farm of the Ministry of Justice. What does it mean? In the period from November 2016 to the summer of 2018, operated a think tank in the Ministry of Justice that supervised and coordinated illegal persecution of individual judges who negatively assessed the pseudo-reform of the judiciary. This activity involved slanderous and defamatory propaganda activities involving internet haters, and it was undertaken in cooperation with pro-government media. According to media publications, the brain of this group, leading this slandering of judges, was a team of 12 judges promoted to high positions in the administration of justice by current Minister of Justice, and they were communicating via the WhatsApp messenger, where they founded a discussion group which was called CASE. The activities of this group were led by mentioned Łukasz Piebiak, the Deputy Minister of Justice, and one of the closest associates of the Minister of Justice, Prosecutor General Zbigniew Ziobro. Mr. Piebiak was called in this group the chieftain. One of the members of the group, who is currently the Central Disciplinary Commissioner for Judges, has a nickname Butcher. And what the active part of the group was internet hater. Her name is Emilia, who published this smear communications in the internet. She based her knowledge about the judges on the information which was provided to her by the members of the Casta group, and they also provided her some classified or semi-classified documents from personal files of the judges and from files of disciplinary proceedings in respect of judges, and these documents, some of these documents were illegally published by her in the internet. What were the most spectacular actions of this Casta group? The first action was in respect of Krystian Markiewicz, President of Justicja. In June 2018, after Łukasz Piebiak's approval, in order to discredit the President of Justicja, Emilia sent to all branches of Justicja and to the media which are supporting the ruling camp, the information, the anonymous, which said that he has a woman lover and she forced her to the abortion. In total, 2,500 emails and postcards were sent by Emilia with this information. It was also published in the internet. In order to accomplish this task, Łukasz Piebiak personally gave Emilia the address of Krystian Markiewicz. Another member of Casta group provided Emilia with detailed information about the 5-year-old child of Krystian Markiewicz, as well as the telephone number of his alleged lover and her husband.
Sorry to interrupt you, 2 more minutes.
Okay. During discussion with Mr. Piebiak, Emilia expressed her fear that she would be punished for this activity, and then Łukasz Piebiak commented, reassured her, "We don't imprison for doing good." So he was sure that she will be protected. Another famous action of this Casta group was directed in respect of President of the Supreme Court, Ms. Gersdorf. It was done when in July 2018 the ruling camp made an attempt to deprive her the position of the first president of Supreme Court, which was done in breach of Constitution. And at that moment, many Polish judges and lawyers made an action to send postcards with words of support for Ms. Gersdorf. And at that time, one of the members of this Casta group, Konrad Wytrykowski, proposed on this discussion group that they should organize the contrary action, namely to send the first president of the Supreme Court postcards with the slogan, "Get the fuck out of the Supreme court. And Emilia distributed this information in the internet, and in fact some of such postcards were addressed to Ms. Gersdorf. What is crucial for understanding how important or how serious was this group is to mention about the composition of this casta group. It consisted of 12 judges which were promoted by current Minister of Justice to the high positions in the judiciary. And the chief was Deputy Minister of Justice, Mr. Piebiak. 3 judges, members of the casta, subsequently in March 2018 became the members of the politicized Neo-National Council of the Judiciary. 2 members of the casta in December 2018 became deputies of the main disciplinary commissioner for judges, and 1 judge, Mr. Wydrzykowski, in December 2018 became a member of newly created disciplinary chamber of the Supreme Court. Other members of the casta group were promoted for positions of presidents of court. As you can see, the case has become the starting point for many brilliant careers of judges who had never stood out before. Afterwards, the activity of casta of Emilia expired because she got in conflict with the rest of the casta. And afterwards, in September 2018, the Minister of Justice created special task force of the Office of the Minister of Justice, which statutory objective was preparing analysis and presenting recommendations to the Minister of Justice on disciplinary proceedings. It was called Piebiak's Task Force. And what is interesting is the composition of this body. It consisted of 9 persons. The boss of this group, officer-in-chief, was Łukasz Piebiak. And in the composition of the group, out of 9 persons, 6 were ex-members of the casta. The absence of any specific indications of the task force responsibilities, in combination with its membership and lack of any information about activity of this group in the period of 10 months, suggests that the task force focused on selecting judges who should be harassed on political grounds and on establishing the type of harassment to particular judges. Shortly after creating of this special task force, in November 2018, the Casta Watch anonymous account on Twitter portal was activated, which was doing exactly the same what Emilia did before, which was publishing smear comments on particular judges active in the defense of the system based on the rule of law, and the documents from personal files and files of disciplinary proceedings were revealed on this hate speech account. So my only one logical explanation is the fact that the Piebiak Special Task Force, that the tandem Piebiak Special Task Force and Casta Watch anonymous account is the successor of the previous tandem Casta and Emi on the internet. However, it is much more professional and much better organized. Yes, I know that I have to finish, so I will skip. I will only add that this activity of Emi and the people who were her accomplices and the activity of Casta Watch fulfilled the features of many criminal offenses according the Polish Penal Code. No effective criminal action was taken in respect of this activity, only the artificial action which went to any conclusion. So the conclusion is that the idea of political subordination of judiciary in Poland is supported by the massive Black PR campaign, including media, internet and billboards. All these forms of slandering of the judiciary and particular judges are either organized and financed or at least supported by the executive power. Politically dependent prosecution office and the institution of the new mode of disciplinary proceedings don't give judges any support against this black PR campaign. Piebiak's task force as a center of coordination of politically motivated persecution of defiant judges was a completely Putin-like project, which can be characteristic for authoritarian state, not the state based on the rule of law, the democratic state. And the sad conclusion, a lie repeated 100 times becomes the truth. The negative billboard campaign in the middle of 2017 resulted in deterioration of public trust in the judiciary from over 40% to less than 30%. And that's very sad. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge Mazur. Now I give the floor to prosecutor Krzysztof Parchimowicz.
Dzień dobry Państwu, nazywam się Krzysztof Parchimowicz. Mam 61 lat, od 32 lat wykonuję zawód prokuratora, natomiast od 3 lat jestem prezesem Stowarzyszenia Prokuratorów Lex Super Omnia, co tłumaczymy na język polski prawo ponad wszystkim.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Krzysztof Parchimowicz. I am 61 years old. For the past 32 years I have been a prosecutor, and for the past 3 years I am the president or chairman of the Lex Super Omnia Association of Prosecutors in Polish, or actually in English it shall say law above all.
Przedstawię Państwu historię nienawiści instytucjonalnej, głębokiej niechęci szefostwa prokuratury do niezależnych prokuratorów, do wolności słowa, do wolności stowarzyszania się.
I will offer you a brief story of institutional hate, of the deep unfriendliness and reluctance to accept the independence of prosecutors, the freedom of speech and freedom of association by the current heads of the prosecution authorities in Poland.
Przy okazji postaram się udowodnić, że polscy prokuratorzy są zdyscyplinowani, znają się na zegarku i nie przekroczę czasu wystąpienia.
I will also try to prove to you that Polish prosecutors are highly disciplined, know what they're talking about, and will not exceed their allotted time of speech.
Pierwszy akt hejtu rozegrał się wiosną 2016 roku. Wtedy zdegradowano ponad 100 prokuratorów. Mnie zdegradowano z prokuratury generalnej o 3 szczeble, na sam dół, do prokuratury rejonowej. Przez 20 lat wcześniej w prokuraturze generalnej występowałem przed Sądem Najwyższym.
The first act took place in the spring of 2016. This is when more than 100 prosecutors were demoted. I was demoted from the prosecution general office by 3 levels down to the lowest possible level, that is to the local prosecution authority. For more than 20 years at the general prosecution office I had been appearing before the Supreme Court.
Z jednego zdania urzędowego pisma dowiedziałem się, że moja wiedza, moje doświadczenie nie mają już żadnego znaczenia. Że podlegam reedukacji na najniższym szczeblu prokuratury, który przecież poznałem już w młodości.
The official letter that I had received contained just a single sentence telling me that my knowledge and my experience are no longer of any value, that I shall be subject to re-education at the lowest imaginable professional level for a judge, a level I had become very familiar with in my professional youth.
Kiedy tworzyliśmy stowarzyszenie Lex Super Omnia, proces rejestracji był inwigilowany przez prokuraturę. Kopiowano listy członków założycieli. Natomiast prokuratorom wojskowym polecono, by na piśmie informowali swoich przełożonych o zamiarze podjęcia prac w stowarzyszeniu.
When we proceeded to establish the Lex Super Omnia, the law above all association, the prosecution service had actually been surveying the process of registration, of subsequent member registration. Subsequent lists of founding members were copied, whereas the military prosecutors, for example, were ordered to notify their superiors in writing of their intent to join the association.
Dalsze szykany związane są już z moją działalnością w Stowarzyszeniu Lex Super Omnia. Prawdopodobnie jestem najbardziej szykanowany prawnikiem w Polsce.
Further prosecution ties in with my operation, with my activities as part of the association, an association that I represent in the media. In all likelihood, it can be said that currently I am the most persecuted lawyer in Poland.
Wdrożono wobec mnie 2 postępowania karne. Jedno zakończono bez efektów, natomiast drugie toczy się już ponad 2 lata. Dotyczy pisma, przy którym przesłałem 2 orzeczenia Sądu Najwyższego, z których wynikało, że pewne zdarzenia należy kwalifikować jako przestępstwa podatkowe. O tym postępowaniu prowadzonym wobec mnie informowali szefowie prokuratury, w programach telewizyjnych byłem przedstawiany z imienia i nazwiska i wskazywano jednocześnie moją funkcję w Stowarzyszeniu Lex Super Omnia. Byłem przedstawiany jako przyjaciel mafii podatkowej.
Two criminal law proceedings were instigated against me. One was dismissed without any effect. Another has been unjustifiably in progress for more than 2 years. That particular proceeding concerns a letter that I had sent to prosecutors describing the content of 2 rulings, 2 judgments by the Supreme Court concerning the actual qualification or legal interpretation of specific events as specifically tax crime. Now, these proceedings against me had been publicized on the TV by heads of the Polish prosecution service. I was mentioned on public media by first and last name and by my function, by my position in the Lex Super Omnia Association as a friend to the tax mafia in Poland.
Moją krytykę nieprawości w prokuraturze próbowano tłumić poprzez zapowiedź procesu cywilnego z kosztownymi żądaniami. Dążyłem do tego procesu, lecz pozwu ostatecznie prokuratura nie wytoczyła.
My criticism of the unlawful proceedings well, there were attempts to quash my criticism of unlawfulness by the prosecution service. It was announced that proceedings under civil law would be initiated against me with extremely broad demands that had been specified by a letter from the plenipotentiary of the prosecution service. I myself had been in favour for the trial to begin, but the suit was never filed.
Z powodu krytyki wdrożono wobec mnie 5 postępowań dyscyplinarnych, w których w każdym przedstawiono po kilka zarzutów. Jedno ostatecznie umorzono, w 3 sprawach wpłynęły już wnioski do sądu dyscyplinarnego o ukaranie mnie. W 13 sprawach rzecznik dyscyplinarny wdrożył postępowania wyjaśniające. Postępowanie wyjaśniające to jest pierwsze stadium postępowania dyscyplinarnego. Zdecydowana większość postępowań dotyczy krytyki funkcjonowania obecnej prokuratury, natomiast istota tych postępowań polega na tym, że rzecznicy dyscyplinarni próbują w istocie cenzurować i nadzorować działalność stowarzyszenia.
For reasons of criticism I had uttered, 5 different disciplinary proceedings had been initiated against me, each of these proceedings involving a number of charges. One of these proceedings was summarily discussed. In 3 cases, motions had been filed for me to be penalized by the disciplinary court. In 13 other cases, the disciplinary spokesperson had introduced the measure of the legal inquiry. The legal inquiry is a stage that precedes the actual disciplinary proceedings. The majority, the decisive majority of all proceedings against me focuses on the criticism of how the current prosecution service is operating, whereas actually it is the disciplinary spokespersons who are trying to censor what the association is doing.
Od marca 2016 roku pracuję w 4. prokuraturze na terenie Warszawy. 6 razy zmieniano mi zakres obowiązków, co za każdym razem wiąże się z poznawaniem nowych, nieznanych spraw.
Since March 2016, I am now working for my 4th prosecution office in Warsaw. The scope of my responsibilities has been changed 6 times, which obviously means that the cases, that the actual cases I had to handle were also changed.
Wobec braku efektów postępowań dyscyplinarnych przełożony skierował mnie na badania lekarskie, które miały wykazać, że jestem trwale niezdolny do pracy w prokuraturze.
Since the disciplinary proceedings taken against me had brought no effect, my immediate superior had ordered me to undergo a medical examination in order to prove that I am unable to work for a prosecution authority.
Nie jest łatwo przyjąć z obojętnością fakt, że rzecznik dyscyplinarny nie podaje mi ręki, tak jak gdybym był sprawcą czynu hańbiącego. Na sali rozpraw sądu dyscyplinarnego trudno powstrzymać ten odruch, by chcieć usiąść na miejscu przeznaczonym dla oskarżyciela, a nie naprzeciwko niego, na miejscu dla oskarżonego.
It is very difficult for me to remain indifferent to the fact that one of these disciplinary spokespersons refuses to shake my hand as if I had been the perpetrator of a derogatory act. Also, whenever I enter a courtroom, it is difficult for me to overcome my usual reflex, that is to go and take a seat in the space for prosecutors. Instead, I have to be facing a prosecutor as a person facing charges.
Szef prokuratury w mediach odziera mnie z dorobku zawodowego. Jego wypowiedzi odbijają się echem na prawicowym portalu internetowym. Później natomiast trafiają w formie hejtu na Twittera. Do mediów trafiają informacje, które pochodzą z moich dokumentów służbowych. Mam podstawy, by sądzić, że wpisy konta Casta Watch zawierały informacje, które uzyskano z moich dokumentów medycznych.
The head of the prosecution service is degrading my professional accomplishments. His speeches, his comments are then echoed on a right-wing internet online portal, and then are transformed into hate speech on Twitter. Media are provided with information sourced from official, confidential, classified documents. I have reasons to believe that persons managing the Casta Watch portal had access to my medical documentation.
Ważne działania Lex Super Omnia za każdym razem ożywiają hejterów. Po 12 września, kiedy złożyliśmy zawiadomienie o możliwości popełnienia przestępstwa przez ministra sprawiedliwości Zbigniewa Ziobro, hejt przybrał na sile i stał się wulgarny.
Crucial activities taken by the Lex Super Omnia Association become fodder for haters. After we had filed notification of a suspicion of crime having been committed by the Minister of Justice Zbigniew Ziobro, that was on September the 12th, a wave of extremely vulgar hate appeared.
Atmosfera mobbingu w pracy powoduje, że ja, doświadczony prokurator z grubą skórą, niekiedy rano czuję mdłości przed wyjściem do pracy.
The atmosphere of mobbing at work causes me, a very experienced prosecutor, rather thick-skinned when it comes to dispute, actually am nauseated when I have to leave for work in the morning.
Tej fali nienawiści mogę się przeciwstawić dzięki wsparciu rodziny. Koledzy, którzy chcieliby być bardziej aktywni, ograniczają tą aktywność. Z tego powodu, że ich żony płaczą ze strachu o przyszłość rodziny.
You can only withstand the subsequent waves of hate thanks to support provided by the family. My colleagues from the association have tended to actually limit their activities for a very simple reason. Their wives are crying in fear for the safety of families.
Ważny jest duch koleżeństwa, który panuje w stowarzyszeniu, współpraca środowisk prawniczych, słowa poparcia innych prokuratorów, którzy nie należą do naszego stowarzyszenia. Otuchy dodają słowa nadziei i poparcia, które padają od nieznanych, spotkanych przypadkowo ludzi. Nie można też przecenić pomocy obywateli, którzy jako publiczność przychodzą na salę sądów dyscyplinarnych i kontrolują przebieg takich rozpraw.
We find the spirit of friendliness in the association, of solidarity among colleagues in the association hugely important. It is hugely important to hear words of support by other prosecutors, even if they are not part of our association. It is hugely important for us to find that other legal communities are cooperating with us. We are also greatly elevated in spirit by words of solidarity and hope uttered by strangers in the street. Moreover, it is hugely important for us that we have citizens arriving in courtrooms to hear disciplinary proceedings and to control, to audit, to find out whether the trial is being held in a proper way.
Mamy wspólny cel. Obywatele walczą i domagają się uczciwego procesu przed niezawisłym sądem. My, prawnicy, walczymy o swoją zawodową godność.
We share an objective. Citizens are fighting for fair trial before an independent court of law. Lawyers, talking on behalf of the state, are fighting, or acting on behalf of the state, are fighting for their professional dignity.
Najważniejsze jest jednak przekonanie o słuszności naszych racji i postaw. 30 lat temu odrzuciliśmy system, w którym jedynym bezpartyjnym uczestnikiem procesu karnego był oskarżony. Do partii władzy należał prokurator, do partii władzy należał sędzia i ławnicy, a także często również obrońca.
The most important thing, however, is the deep conviction that what we are doing is right and lawful. 40 years ago, we managed to get rid of a system where the defendant had been the only non-political party, the only one not representing any political party. The party of power had included the prosecutor, the judge and jury, and often as not, the lawyer, the defender.
Obecny spór środowisk prawniczych z rządzącymi nie dotyczy wcale prawniczych zawiłości. Chodzi o to, że rządzący chcą stworzyć warunki, by móc ponownie zniewolić wolnych ludzi rękami prawników. My nie chcemy się na to zgodzić.
The current dispute of all the legal communities in Poland with those in power is not about legal intricacies. The point is that those in power want to create conditions in order to be able to yet again enslave free people with the hands of their lawyers. We refuse to agree to it.
Chcemy nadal mieć czyste ręce. Dziękuję za uwagę.
We intend to keep our hands clean. Thank you very much for your attention.
Tam jest.
Nazywam się Piotr Gąciarek, jestem sędzią Sądu Okręgowego w Warszawie, jestem także członkiem Stowarzyszenia Justitia i wiceprezesem warszawskiego oddziału.
Sekundę, Pani Piotr. Mikrofony, problem techniczny. Moment.
Dobrze, jeszcze raz przepraszam. Nazywam się Piotr Gąciarek, jestem sędzią Sądu Okręgowego w Warszawie, członkiem Stowarzyszenia Sędziów Polskiej Justitia i wiceprezesem warszawskiego oddziału. Jest mi bardzo miło, że mogę przed Państwem wystąpić i zaszczytem jest przemawiać po takich przygłosach, jakie przed chwilą zabierali głos.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Piotr Gąciarek. I am a judge of the District Court in Warsaw, a member of the Justitia Judicial Organization, and the vice chairman of its Warsaw chapter. It is my pleasure to appear today before you, and it is also a great honor to speak after my predecessors.
Muszę szczerze przyznać, że mam, może to jest szczęście, że spotkałem się z hejtem i działaniami nienawistnymi wobec mnie, ale nie mnie się porównywać, bo skala tego, co mnie spotkało, jest nieporównywalnie mniejsza względem tych przykrości, które spotkały prokuratora Parchimowicza czy sędziego Żurka.
I have indeed been exposed to hate. It is on an incomparable scale when it comes to that which had befallen prosecutor Parchimowicz or Justice Żurek.
Chciałbym powiedzieć ze swojej perspektywy w dwóch słowach, skąd moja na przykład decyzja o takiej aktywności obywatelskiej, medialnej jako sędziego, która niesie pewne konsekwencje, także przykre. My jako sędziowie zostaliśmy wychowani, prokuratorzy tym bardziej w Polsce przez wiele lat, że sędzia milczy, sędzia wypowiada się na sali sądowej, ostatnia swój werdykt, natomiast do mediów to sędzia nie może z mediami rozmawiać, od tego jest prezes, rzecznik prasowy, nie sędzia.
Let me tell you whence my decision to stop being silent, to join the civic movement and to start talking to the media. You have to know that as prosecutors and judges, we are actually educated to keep silent, that we should only be uttering relevant words in the courtroom, whereas when it comes to talking to the media, that was a task assigned to the president of the court or the press spokesman, not to a judge or prosecutor.
Nawet gdy się zaczęły te złe zmiany, jeśli chodzi o praworządność w naszym kraju, to ja należałem do tej grupy sędziów, która dość długo uważała, że udział w demonstracjach na ulicy to jest coś, co sędziemu nie wypada czegoś takiego robić. Natomiast takim przełomem, czymś, co dla mnie było szokiem i co decydowało o takim bezwarunkowym zaangażowaniu się, to był taki moment, kiedy nagle się okazało, że można w 10 dni wyjąć z kieszeni ustawę, która zniszczy Sąd Najwyższy, jaki znamy w Polsce.
When we began having issues with the rule of law in Poland, I had originally believed that participating in street manifestations was a behaviour not entirely becoming for a judge or prosecutor. Nonetheless, there came a point in time that brought absolute shock to me, and that was when I decided to become involved. It was the moment when it turned out that it sufficed to take 10 days and come up with an act of law that will proceed to destroy the Supreme Court in a country.
Kiedy w zeszłym roku podczas manifestacji obywateli pod Sądem Najwyższym w jego obronie, kiedy ważyły się losy, pierwszy raz przemawiałem publicznie na manifestacji, to pamiętam, że użyłem takich słów, że jeszcze niedawno bym prędzej uwierzył, że w kosmos polecę, niż to, że ja jako sędzia będę przemawiał na ulicznej manifestacji.
In 2018, when I had attended my first public manifestation at the Supreme Court in Warsaw, having joined many citizens who had then joined the manifestation, and the fate of the Supreme Court hung in the balance, I remember the words I had used then. I told the people who were then listening to me in my first public speech that until recently I would have believed that I would actually become an astronaut and fly into outer space rather than speak in public as a judge.
Jeśli chodzi o mnie, chcę przedstawić ten jeden wątek, który dotyczy mnie, tego, co mnie spotkało. Jeżeli chodzi o mowę nienawiści w internecie, jako takich komunikatorach dbających tą anonimowość, jak Twitter na przykład, no to tak jest. To jakby to, że jacyś ludzie wykładają jakieś słowa dziwne wobec sędziów, to z tym się trzeba pogodzić. Natomiast nowością było, że no była to akcja przy okazji zorganizowana z samej góry, no przez urzędników Ministerstwa Sprawiedliwości.
I would like to talk about hate speech related developments. It is obvious that one can become the target for hate speech, and judges have become the target for hate speech on public communicators and social media that award anonymity, such as Twitter, for example. Nonetheless, it was an absolute novelty to all of us that such smear campaigns could actually be organized by top officials in the country. As it turns out, top officials at the Ministry of Justice.
Publiczna telewizja polska, która jest także utrzymywana z podatków, także ja za nią płacę abonament co miesiąc, przygotowała kłamliwy, szkalujący mnie materiał, w którym wyciągnięto historię z mojego życia prywatnego, gdzie to ja byłem ofiarą przestępstwa oszustwa, a ktoś był jego sprawcą.
The public TV, which is funded from taxes, I as a taxpayer am paying my TV subscription every month, had actually organized a slandering smear campaign, including false information. The media had come up with a story from my personal life, where I had fallen victim to a fraud caused by another perpetrator, by a third-party perpetrator.
Naruszenie
Działa. Blisko trzeba.
Nie, teraz działa, tak?
Nie. Proszę.
A teraz chyba będzie dobrze. Naruszenie prywatności, takie bezceremonialne, to jest jakby jeden aspekt tej sprawy, ale czymś znacznie dla mnie przykrym było to, że w tym materiale posunięto się do jednoznacznej sugestii, że ja w swojej sprawie prywatnej użyłem jakichś wpływów, doprowadziłem do czyjegoś skazania. To znaczy załatwiłem po znajomości, że koledzy skazali kogoś, kto mnie oszukał.
Bringing up somebody's private life is one thing. Nonetheless, I was deeply touched by the fact that the media had suggested that I had pulled some strings in order to get the perpetrator who had committed fraud that I had been victim to, that I had pulled some strings to then get that person convicted.
W zasadzie to jest zarzut najgorszy, jaki może być, bo to jest tak jakby sędziemu zarzucić, że bierze łapówki za wydawanie wyroku, prawda?
That actually is the heaviest charge of all. It resembles a situation where a judge is being accused of bribery.
Ja w tej sprawie skierowałem pozew przeciwko telewizji, ale proszę mi wierzyć, że wbrew pozorom bycie sędzią i pójście na drogę sądową to jest rzecz bardzo trudna, bo sędzia ma gorzej i dłużej. Chociażby dlatego, że zna innych sędziów, więc będą się wyłączać, będą wnioski o wyłączenie. Dochodzenie przez sędziego sprawiedliwości w sądzie tak naprawdę jest trudniejsze niż przez zwykłego obywatela.
I filed a case against the public TV. Nevertheless, believe me when I say that if you're a judge, it is much more difficult to seek justice, because obviously you are part of the judicial community, which means that some judges shall abstain from the entire process. A number of motions to have some judges removed from the process shall also be filed. In other words, the judge has it longer and harder.
Dziś po tym ujawnieniu kulisów tej afery hejterskiej miesiąc temu jestem już mądrzejszy, to znaczy wiem, że ten materiał telewizji to nie był jakiś przypadek, że ktoś ujawnił akta sprawy karnej, gdzie byłem pokrzywdzonym. Ktoś podał tę informację pani, która zajmowała się hejtem profesjonalnie w mediach.
Once the background of the entire scandal had been revealed 1 month ago, I became the wiser. I found out that the fact that my private life had been described in public media is no chance, that it had been an organized campaign and it had been put together by a lady who actually professionally deals with trolling and hate speech.
Ten szkalujący program telewizyjny był przedmiotem takiej ciekawej wymiany zdań wiceministra ówczesnego Piewiaka z tą hejterką, gdzie powiedział, że ten program bardzo mu się podobał i już wysyła link do szefa, żeby też się ucieszył. Szefa, czyli jak trzeba rozumieć, chyba ministra.
That program, that TV broadcast, which smeared me, had been the subject discussed by the former Vice Minister of Justice, Mr. Piebiak, and the professional hater. He actually texted her that he really loved that TV broadcast and he's going to send the link to his boss so that to make the boss happy too. His boss is the Minister of Justice.
Powiem tak, jeżeli ci, którzy stali za tym szkalowaniem, za tym materiałem przeciwko mnie, myśleli, że mi zamkną usta, przestraszą, to co się stało, mnie tylko jakby wzmocniło, bo dało taki impuls, żeby być aktywnym jeszcze bardziej. I jakby umocniło w tej postawie, że wobec tego, co się dzieje, tego łamania praworządności w naszym kraju, dzisiaj sędzia, podobnie jak niezależny prokurator, milczeć nie może.
If those who had instigated this hate campaign against me thought or were counting on me falling silent, they couldn't be more wrong. In the face of what had befallen me and what has befallen Poland, I believe that every independent justice and every independent prosecutor should speak out. We cannot remain silent while the rule of law in Poland is being violated.
Tak się złożyło, że miałem okazję jako sędzia przekazać rzetelną informację do władz Irlandii, do sądu irlandzkiego na temat tego, jak to jest z tym zagrożeniem praworządności w Polsce. To było to słynne zapytanie sędzi O'Donnelly. Prezes mojego sądu uznał, że jest wszystko bardzo dobrze. Ja miałem szansę przekazać tę odpowiedź, że zupełnie inaczej zagrożenia są poważne.
I have had the opportunity as a judge to provide the Irish judiciary and Irish authorities with a description of what is actually going on in the Polish judiciary. That was the very famous inquiry by Justice O'Donnelly, while the president of my own court declared that everything was absolutely rosy and beautiful. I spoke out and said that this couldn't be more wrong.
Tu podchodząc do takiego wymiaru osobistego, chciałbym zwrócić uwagę na taką metodę insynuacji, która jest wszechobecna w tej opowieści o sędziach i o także niezależnych prokuratorach.
Now, with regard to the personal dimension, I would like to focus on certain insinuations concerning both judges and prosecutors.
Tutaj pan sędzia przede mną o tym opowiadał. To wystąpienie naszego premiera na samym początku sprawowania przez jego urzędu dla Washington Examiner, gdzie on powiedział coś takiego, że w jakichś takich sprawach lukratywnych, na których można zarobić, to wedle jego wiedzy sędziowie opłacają się swoim przełożonym, czyli że to ja mam płacić swojemu szefowi łapówkę, że dał mi taką sprawę, na której mogę zarobić. No to było coś niesłychanego, taka insynuacja, bo jeżeli premier mojego rządu wie, że jakiś sędzia jest skorumpowany, to niech idzie z tym do prokuratury. A plotki to można, no nie wolno plotek rozszywać, jak się jest wysokim urzędnikiem.
I would like to also return to the case mentioned by one of my colleagues, my predecessors here, that is the Prime Minister of the Polish government making untoward comments when interviewed by the Washington Examiner. He actually suggested that Polish judges are corrupt in that they can be bribing their immediate superiors in order to achieve a specific effect. Now that is scandalous. Should the Prime Minister consider a specific judge to be corrupt, he is obliged to notify the prosecution authority. Hearsay and gossip is intolerable.
Na koniec posłużę się takim przykładem. O obecnej klasie politycznej Wielkiej Brytanii pada wiele krytycznych słów, także o obecnym premierze, ale utkwiły mi w pamięci słowa premiera brytyjskiego po ostatnim werdykcie Sądu Najwyższego Wielkiej Brytanii.
In closing, let me comment on the following. With regard to the political scene and representatives of the current British government, I know that many words of criticism have been uttered also against the current British Prime Minister, but I will never forget what the current British Prime Minister said in the wake of the most recent ruling of the British Supreme Court.
Po w zasadzie może najważniejszym werdykcie w ostatnich latach Sądu Wielkiej Brytanii. najważniejszym dla rządu brytyjskiego. Ten premier powiedział tak, że chociaż się nie zgadza z tym rozstrzygnięciem, to będzie je szanował. I tu nie ma żadnego ale. Ja bardzo bym chciał, żeby władze mojego kraju też nie dyskutowały z prawomocnymi wyrokami sądów.
While what had recently been passed as a ruling by the British Supreme Court, in all probability one of the most important rulings in modern history of the UK, the Prime Minister said that while he is not very fond of the ruling that has just been passed, he is going to respect it. And this is something I would wish for Poland to follow as well, for the rule of law not to be broken, and for the supreme authorities of the country to respect rulings by courts of law.
Naprawdę już ostatnie zdanie takiej refleksji osobistej. Dzięki mojej też aktywności temu, że uczestniczę w tych wielu zdarzeniach w obronie sądów, prokuratorów, praworządności, poznałem wielu wspaniałych ludzi. Odważnych sędziów i prokuratorów.
Allow me a final sentence of personal reflection. Having become engaged in the civic movements and manifestations and speaking out against what is currently going on, speaking out in defense of the Polish courts, I have met many wonderful people, truly courageous judges and prosecutors.
Tak sobie myślę, że lepiej z porządnymi, odważnymi ludźmi walczyć o ważne sprawy do samego końca, nawet jak nie ma pewności zwycięstwa, niż z ludźmi skalerowiczami wygrać jakieś niegodne pieniądze czy przywileje.
And I believe that is much more worth our while to fight with the righteous and the courageous until the very end, even if the outcome is uncertain, rather than win some kind of suspicious, dirty money with people who are merely career-oriented.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable speakers. I'm convinced that we still would have a lot to talk about even after many hours of the meeting, but due to the nature and circumstances of this particular event, we had to limit ourselves in time. Unfortunately, we don't have time for a question and answer session, but you'll have the chance to talk to Judge Mazur if you have some time directly after our meeting. And before you leave, many thanks to our speakers for sharing your stories, and thank you for your presence. And before you leave, I encourage you to collect some reports that are there at the exit on the table. They will provide you with some more information on the judiciary and the cast to watch as well, and the hate speech implemented on judges and prosecutors. Thank you very much once again.